Okay, guys. What I'll do is today, what we are trying to do, um, before we start with the subject today, we are not. We are supposed to talk about the organizational forms and structure. Right? Just before that, I will explain it to you how that you should attend the first assessment. Right? Uh, I have sent you a formative assessment, and you have done that in the classroom. And then when I sent on online, some of you all now started doing that. So up to yesterday, I mean, I received one latest today, but I don't have time to give you individual feedback now. But I'll tell you how you should be doing this work. How you should attend that. You should know why I am really focusing on the assessment so much. I must honestly tell you, the assessment is not easy. They are not asking you a direct question from you. If it is a direct question, you can really go through your notes and things like that, internet, whatever it is, and answer. Even though it is not going to be done on online, you have plenty of time to refer your books and notes and things like that. It is not going to be easy because there is a way you have to attempt it. Please take your note and look at how you should attempt the first question. Some of you all now have given you what you have to do. Now, in that particular first question, that is focused on goals, objectives, and policies. Now, they said now how it is not going to help. So first, you say that organization started small and they have grown up to a particular level of current turnover and a current business, current profitability. Now they set up very clear goals in three areas, three specific goals. So put a subheading as specific goals and look at those three goals. It's a profit goal from the existing business. What is the goal, and there what is the turnover globally. What you should get. What is this goal? There are goals. If you go through the my first and second presentations, goals can be product goals. It can be consumer goals. It can be any secondary goals. It can be profit goals. So you look at what is this goal, identify that with this. So the first thing about goals, what are the goals the organization set and what is that goals are supposed to be. Then you look at objectives. Some of you all have taken part of what I have mentioned in the presentation. Objective is not a time frame for the goal. When you have a large long-term goals, objectives are short-term, which has to be achieved within that time frame. Our example is no like this. You're going for a tournament, right? You're going to take part in a big tournament. So you form the team. First, if you want to participate and win that particular tournament, you have to form a pool. That is an objective. Say 3 months ago it has to be done. So that 3 months prior to 3 months is the time frame. Start practicing 2 months before the tournament. That is a time frame. Finish selecting team. So they're selecting the final 20 pool or 15 pool or 20 pool. 1 month before the tournament. You understand? So you have to see in this particular thing what are the objectives they are trying to set in what are the areas. Now, if you really go, if you read the case study, you have to read that very carefully. They have not given very clear numbers for goals, but they have given very clear direction for goals. A very clear direction for objectives. So, right now, what is these objectives are and things like that. You are trying to have an objective in your what do you call in rental and hiring some places. You're having some objectives in finance. So identify. You must identify those things and bring a subtitle there and say objectives. Then you look at what are the policies. They're trying to bring health and safety as a policy. They're trying to bring environment as a policy. They're bringing recruitment as a policy. So you look at there are three things, not directly in the case. Agilo ආයතනයක වැඩ කරනවා නම් in the organization, everything is not very clear. This is the goal, this is the objective, these are the policies. Sometimes the documents are there, and small companies put there. You have to identify and write that. For you to get that experience, that exposure, only the questions are made like that. So don't write objective means this, policy means this. No, they may not have a policy, but they are giving in a certain direction. What are the areas they are trying to have policies? You must be in a position to identify that, bring that under subtitles and write it. And now it is going to have help people. That is also a part of question, if I remember right. The goals are set, the policies are there, and the objectives are there. So each and every objective has to happen, achieved within given time frames, within the policy to achieve the goal. That clarity. Target ගන්නවනම් ඕන විදිහට target ගන්න බෑ. There are policies. ඒක ඇතුලේ ඒ රාමුව ඇතුලේ තමයි target ගන්න ඕන. So people know about it. They know when the objective has to, monthly what we have to achieve, they know about it. When they do both the things only, they can achieve organization goals. This should be the clarity and detailed answer for that question. Okay. Now, look at the second question. Second question talks about formal and informal organization. You must understand the difference in between these two. First, explain what is a formal organization. Most of you all have done that quite well. Most of you all attempted this question very well when I looked at the form. You have said. But you are trying to make one particular diagram and try to draw the informal organization. So that's a good attempt. It's a good attempt. But I would prefer if you can look at initially what is the organization, when the organization formed, what is their diagram. There is only one CEO. There are about 3 managers. A small diagram. There is nothing called informal and formal and just one structured formal organization. You get an explanation for what is formal, because formal organization is a social setup coming together to achieve common goals. Then you look at, if you look at the case study, that case study is divided into so many areas. right? One area is very clearly states the changes. I think the second topic, that means when the organization change, there is a new division formed. There are people got promoted, new people now started coming in. So the organization now started growing larger. That is also a formal organization, formal structure. But within that formal structure, now you see informal structure. Some of you all identified that very clearly. But when you are giving an explanation, the informal structure does not mean that people before they join the organization. Some of you all made that mistake. It means that they are connected to each other. They form a group for some other reasons, personal reasons. You are members of the same club, members of the same school, members of smoking group, or some the sort of social understanding. That is informal. Informal is bad or good. That is not they have asked in this particular thing. So don't try to determine that. Informal is no good also in a formal organization. It is for you to identify that. So ideally, what you have done is a good attempt to most of you all. But ideally, you should have the formal structure initially. Then with the changes, what is the formal structure? Then highlighting whatever the way you talk about, what is the informal structure within that. Okay, and that now has to come in from the organization. The third question, talks about. Give me 1 minute. Um, Akib, you have said no. Is there any problem of no hearing me? Okay, let me Akib come back to. So the third question talks about the open system theory, right? It talks about the open system. Now, when it comes to open the system, how do you interact? It talks about interaction. One side is the to clearly see your inputs. There are inputs coming to the organization. People, knowledge, raw material, money, this, that, and all those things are inputs. Organization converts that into output, product, service, and things like that. Now, in this particular whole diagram, in this particular row of activities, input, process, and output, the organization interacts with everyone. The organization interacts with them. So, what happens? Organization does not mean it's working only within. There are suppliers, there are government, there are regulations, there are all those things. Then we look at the output, you talk about your intermediaries, competitors, and all those things. Now, these are the things we have to mention in open system theory. Open is that an organization open to the environment. Just go through it. So you highlight that. Then most of you have done the second part, right? You say no, there are so much of staff. There are so much of supplies. There are so much of this. Most of you all made the mistake. I think most of you all would have copied right now your answers. That I can see that. But be careful right now because in the exam, final exam, when we see that so much of similarities in between answers, then we have certain models, right? Now there is some university principles that we have to call the people and how we need to happen and we have to have one-to-one discussion. So be mindful of that, right? Almost everywhere I saw shareholders, internal and external. When you follow someone, when you're copying from someone, you have to copy from a person who is writing the correct answers, not the person who is doing it wrong. You don't see shareholders as internal and external. There is nothing called like that. Internal and external are stakeholders. There's huge difference in between shareholders and stakeholders. So don't try to put just words to see that it'll go through. It doesn't go through. There are only two things that can happen: either you pass or you fail. So be careful about it. Okay, when I went through some of the answers, I know that there's nothing much of efforts. Would have copied from someone. Be careful that it is not going to, because it's a formative assessment. You can just if you're going to learn from that, it's okay. But be mindful of the assessment, the final. If we see any similarities, it is equivalent to plagiarism. Be mindful of that, right? Then, when you look at the third questions, right? See, we have done that part, right? What is the open system theory? How this organization is in that open system theory has to come. I've identified these are the people who are there and all those things. How it is an attack to the attachment to the open system theory. Then you come into the fourth question is about I think it is about what do you call I think it is the fourth question that comes on the stakeholders. Try to for the stakeholders. Talk about the stakeholders. Now you are talking about a company. Right now, what kind of stakeholders there can be? There are internal stakeholders. There are external stakeholders. And the organization on the third question, you can always bring in environments, internal environment and external environment. External environment is you can break that into two: task environment and general environment. What are the general environment elements? What are the task environment elements? In your, the way you have designed your suppliers, your customers, all those things are task environment elements. Your employees and things like that is the internal environment elements. So you look at how you are exposed. The fourth is about stakeholders. You say your stakeholders, you look at all the people who are interested who are interested in the organization and who can influence in the organization. Most of you all not write it quite well. You have put bankers, you have put all those things, and separately you have wrote who they are and things like that. It's a very good one. But no, say now even in those things, you must draw. You have said two commercial banks. You have mentioned certain things quite well. That's really good. But also you get who are the stakeholders. How do you look at stakeholders? There are influencing, there are very important stakeholders. There are not so important stakeholders. How do you manage them? Right? That is how it has to come. The last question comes for control. Most of the people didn't do that well. Most of you all didn't do well. I'm not very sure that you have referred to the controlling tools. I'll give you a small example of what is controls. Organization will bring in a lot of elements into them, right? They are bringing in a lot of inputs. They are bringing in money from banks, shareholders money. Then you look at a lot of technologies, the raw materials you are bringing in, you are storing in all those things. Then you have machinery, right? The capital goods, you are bringing the machinery and manufacturing. Then you are selling it to a distributor. It goes to the people. It goes to the people. They sell it out. You look at all these things happens. Controls are all these things has to be controlled in the sense it has to be managed well. Controls come basically fundamentally because of maximizing your inputs, maximizing everything, optimizing resources, maximizing outputs, eliminating waste. All these are the things when you talk about controls. How do you control now? How can you bring in financial control? You have budgets, you have profit targets, you have turnover targets. Then you measure every month, you measure against that. How? Your profit and loss document, balance sheet document, cash flow document, your ratio analysis. So all those things, the controlling tools. You talk about marketing. You're setting objectives. You want so much of market share. You want so much of profits from each and every brand. You want so much of turnover or volume from them, and you want to penetrate this market. Right now, so all those you have to penetrate this market. You want to do market development in this area. You want to do product development in this area. Objectives. How do you measure? Market share, brand profitability, SKU profitability, ratio against how much in advertising and how much you gain. All those things are controlling tools. Sales, you set the targets. You set monthly targets. You set regional targets. You set area targets. You set individual targets, product targets, turnover targets. So measure it again. Territory, how much they have achieved, how many brands have achieved which one, in which region they have achieved, which channel they have achieved it. Supermarket channel, modern channel, or retail channel, hospital channel, this channel, that channel. All that is planned, and controlling comes from measuring that against those. How do you measure when it comes to how do you set targets and measure controlling tools in factory? A machine can produce 100 metric tons a month. Is it producing or not? It has to produce say 25 metric tons a week. Is it producing it or not? Measure. So your production output per week is a controlling tool. That document is a controlling tool. When you talk about say per person how much you have to produce, for a guy has to produce 10 tons a week, measure against him whether Sarnapala produced 10 tons, whether Chandran produced 10 tons. Controlling mechanisms. We have a budget for electricity, we have budget for water, we have budget for cost, we have budget for salaries, we have budget for bonuses. Are we spending accordingly or more than that? Controlling. We have health and safety. We allow only in one accident, non-critical accident for a month. That is the standard. More or less controlling. So what happens is, when we talk about organizations' policies, these policies also given us certain guidelines. We call it KPIs, various names. It gives guidelines. To measure all those things, and we have very, very clear objectives in all those areas. So you can always bring in those tools, but we use them. So when I look at that particular question, if we don't understand, if you have not read the case and understood the case properly, you can't answer this. So your primary document is understanding the case. Then when you just read through it, you must know what it means. For that, you should understand the theory. Now your first assessment is fundamentally going to be only two areas. That's what I said. My presentation one and presentation. Now, what I feel is I think we have to another 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes more. So I'm not going through the subject now. I'll complete this with you. What you all have to do is first thoroughly understand the first two areas of study. You must be in a position to put that into practice any company and understand that in a company through those things. Must be in a position to understand that. If you don't understand, you will find it very difficult to pick up these leads from the cases. Now, these two things you're going to do at the time of assessment. How it is not going to happen is right now we will send you the paper. Right, if it is not going to be 2 hours, we'll send you the paper in within 2 hours, before 2 hours. You're supposed to load what you have done after 2 hours, because if you load it after that, it is not going to be accepted. So it is very, very time bound. Right? The case for you to read and understand, it will take about 15 to 20 minutes. It will take time. I'm not joking with that, because it is the way it is designed. It is the typical way it is designed. When you ask the 5 questions, you should understand the questions. Exactly what they are asking. Then you have to understand, or you have to draft what are the things you are going to do. In this type of questions, because I don't know, you skip it and go, don't do that, right? Because you have to answer all 5 questions. When they say SQA is 100%, it means that you have to answer all 5 questions. Okay, so first answer the question and you should know how you are going to answer that. But the way I told you now, explain these 5 questions now, you should answer. Keep that in your mind. That will be the structure for future. Right? Even if you are asking some other question, you should know about the theory part of it. Then based on that, you will see examples in the organization. So you go to the examination with a very, very theoretical understanding. When you know that somebody is mentioning this, you should know right now this particular part has to be fit in here. It's typically like when you're going to bat for a world's best fast bowler. You don't have chance, you don't have time to think about, plan about how to hit this ball, right? You don't have a chance. It comes at you, someone about 160 kilometers an hour. 1/10 of a second, it will hit you. You don't have time to plan. All that is how fast you understand. How fast you understand and how smart you are to act. To that extent, first learn those 2 things. Go through the questions again. Now, if you are from today, I'm not going to answer individually. Most probably that we are planning this test going to be on today 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th or 11th. Like the day we are looking at. Be prepared enough for that. Right? If you all want, right, the next class now on planning, say about 2 days from now. That is 6th, 7th, 8th, 8th or 9th. If you really want me to talk about the assessment again, I will talk about it. So we will have a special class now for this particular thing, because we have to finish earlier good amount of. But throughout this particular subject, you realize this is not an easy subject for diploma holders. So honestly, I'll tell you, it's very, very high standard. I'm very happy about it, because if you can answer this properly, if you can understand the theories and simply if you can understand the case in your higher studies, it makes you very well prepared. That is one. Number two, You'll be able to, in an organization, you'll be much more smarter to pick it up next. Because it gives you, that much of confidence. Okay? Any questions, guys? Do you have any questions? You want to ask anything? Or you can drop a message. Okay, what I'll do is, since I talked about the assignment which is coming this week, I'll just start on the subject now what we are going to do today that we are supposed to talk about it. This is about forms of organizational structure. Right now, what is these forms of organizational structure? We know what so we haven't talked about structure lightly on the first day. But what happens is every organization now basically we are looking at three things if I would learn: organization structure, structural relationship, and these are the two things we talk about. Okay, a structure, when we talk about a word called structure, which means to put up to hold anything, there should be a basis. There should be a foundation. You look at Eiffel Tower, we say Nelum Kuluna we talk about. It's not Nelum Kuluna is just on the surface, right? But there should be a strong foundation. It has to hold so much of long in a tower, the weight, the width, people have to go in. So when you design that with a purpose, that particular thing should go into our mind and to say what is the weight of that, what is the height of that, what is the average height all the time, and it has to carry, it has to take in, and also the structural heaviness, all those things has to be taken into consideration to put that building. Business is like that. If you want to manufacture right now, say 100,000, 100 garments for a month, you can have one machine and you can have one person. She or he will do say someone about 5 for a day. Right now 3 for a day. For a month, say someone about you manufacture or you stitch 100. When you want to do in that rate, if you want to do 1,000, you'll have 10 machines. The 10 machines for a day, each one will produce about 3.5. Then you produce 1,000 to 1,000 for a month. If you are working in each and every day. Likewise, each and every the unit, when the unit size increases, automatically your machine capacity has to increase, your storage capacity has to increase, your people capacity has to increase. Now all these elements put together, we talk about structure. We talk about foundation. Number of people and what they do is quite important in that particular mechanism. This is what we generally call about house is a structure, a building is a structure, organization is a structure, a family is a structure, a society is a structure, hospital system is a structure, military is a structure. Why? All those things has a purpose to achieve. So all these things are purpose built. Now, an organization is a purpose built structure. Simply, that is what we talk about now. The organizational structure is a system used to define the hierarchy within an organization. Actually, organizational structure, when we talk about, within that organization, there are different roles to be completed. Now take for instance, right? In a manufacturing company, right, there is a manufacturing manager. Ideally, he should be an engineer, not necessarily an engineer. He's a manufacturing guy. He will know about the machines. He will know about the machine capacity. He will know about people. He's know about people ability in manufacturing and things like that. So he has a specialized job. You look at the same way, the supply chain manager, the person who procure and things like that. He will know when to buy the goods, when to keep it in the stores, and when the manufacturing wants it. It's not only when to buy and where to keep it. You should know where to buy the raw materials, where is the best raw material come, where the cost effective raw materials will come, how long it will take to bring that particular stuff. What are the whether you're buying locally or from a foreign country, if it is foreign country, how many days it will take, how the monies are going to be transferred. So you look after a large area on that one, another specialized area. Now the marketing guy will look at to whom we are going to sell this particular thing. So he will identify consumer needs and all those things, and he will place the order. So the manufacturing will buy the machinery and modernize the machinery and things like that, and they'll work on a particular document where the supply chain will bring down the goods. Now all these areas are specialized areas. When the organization started growing slowly, one by one, when they started growing, all these areas become very, very, very important. They become interdependent divisions connected to each and everyone to produce a common goal. This is where that structure, organizational structure is important. There is a CEO, there is a manager, there's a general manager, and under them, there are assistant managers, under them, there are executives, under them, there are flow executives with very, very clearly identified job roles. Very clearly identified job roles. What happens if we don't have specified job roles? I don't know what I am supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do for the organization to achieve its objectives and its goals. If every person doesn't know the policy of the organization, within what they have to work with, and if you don't know the objectives, what they are supposed to achieve within a particular given time, then they don't know. They find it very difficult to contribute to the organization goal achievement. So when we talk about structure, it is not just putting a manager and executive. We have to very, very clearly define what is their job, what is their job, what they are supposed to do, and how it is to be delivered, and how it is connected to another person. So structure doesn't come easily. You got to thoroughly understand what is the business we are in, how this business interact with outside. I'll give you an example. You all know about Fonteva, the company that I work for. Now say till 2014, more than 2000, no, till 2008, this company didn't have a regulatory affairs in a division. This company didn't have a corporate social responsibility division. All these new things are coming under HR at that particular time. In 2008, there was a problem about melamine, right? That was a Chinese problem, and our name got involved. So there were so much of issues. Then we realized the importance of legal affairs division. Then we started forming a corporate responsibility and legal affairs division. Then in 2015, there was another problem called DCD, 2015-2016. So that was a time when we critically look at, we are going to break this corporate social responsibility separately and legal affairs separately, because those things will become very big important areas for the organization to focus on than your sales and marketing, HR, and things like that. These things also become very much important at the particular time. Now you look at exactly what has happened when the organization started interacting, with the environment, like the way what we discussed on the first question, right? The way you have, the way organization has to interact with the environment. When the environment is in a completely changing, a dynamic environment, the organization structure responds to it. The organization structure responds to it. This is what we have to understand about the organization structures. Okay, guys. Um, what I want to say, you have to look at what is happening in and around us and what the organizations have done about it. About 20 years ago, no one talked about CSR, right? What no CSR? 20, 30 years ago, no one talks about digital marketing. Right now, there's no digital marketing there. There was no trade marketing there at that particular time. Right? There is no IT division in organizations. All these things are responding to the dynamic market environment. You are responding to the environment. This is what we talk about open system. So, when you're talking about a structure, that is not defined or decided by what is the current thing, currently, what the organization is going through, and what is the futuristic needs, what the organization has to do. Okay, guys. And Rizmi, what do you want? Let me see that. The topic has to be noted somewhere in the YouTube section. You mean the title for this, right? Okay, we'll do that, Rimzi. Right now, we will. I think all the things. Yeah. When I instruct people to send you the link, right? I will tell them that what is going to be. Now, say the forms of organization structure supposed to be today. Now, why I have not mentioned that is, I really want you to know how to attempt that the assessment, right? Now, so I thought since we are going to have that this week, and I want to tell you, what it is. Most probably, we'll be sending you in detail how you should attempt that the when is the exam and all. But so when we have not tomorrow, day after, or the other day the class, it is going to be the forms of an organizational structure. It's not going to be a title, unless otherwise that you want a further discussion or explanation on the assignment, right? If you say spend us to give us no time, give us no little bit on assessment. If you have any questions or whatever it is, send it to me in advance. Then no, then in that case that can be changed. Otherwise, we'll stick to it. Okay.